What's up, guys? Brandon Warne here, Midwest Swing, part of the Zone Coverage and Cold Omaha Podcast Network. We are catching up with the catcher, Chris Gimenez, episode 3. What's going on, man?
How are you guys?
I'm doing good. I can't speak for Tom behind the camera.
Doing well.
He's been working out.
Been working out, man.
Right, lifting those 12-ounce curls. He was on a break. I've been on a break. You were on an all-star break. You went to Nevada. How did that go?
It was awesome,
yeah.
Honestly. It's the first time I've been back home in 15 years in the summertime. I've actually, believe it or not, I have never once seen flowers on the plants at my house or leaves on the trees. Because by the time we get home, you know, it's October, November-ish. Last year it was the middle of November.
Right.
We already had a foot of snow on the ground. And it's kind of gloomy looking around my parts that time of the year, but it was crazy. I could not believe just how beautiful our yard looked. I mean, we built this house, we paid all this money for the landscaping, and I've never seen a flower on the bush. So it actually was pretty cool. I was very excited. Now I just have to keep my kids from picking all the leaves off the plants and the flowers.
They're just deadheading them, though.
Yeah, exactly. They're just hedging them up for the fall.
Well, now you're not going to get to enjoy it because you're going to play till you're 40. You're going to manage till you're 60. Yeah. You're never going to get to enjoy it anyway.
I won't be home again during the summer.
Right, exactly. But so everything was good, though? I mean, it was a pretty fun
break. It was great.
break.
No, it was awesome. We went to Lake Tahoe for the day.
That's
one of the
cool.
days. Took the kids up there. They had a blast. Went with our best friends and their 2 kids. And we just barbecued. We hung out on our patio at night. The beautiful thing about Reno is it can be 100 degrees during the day, but it always cools down at night. So, you know, it's a beautiful time to just sit on your patio under our pergola. I hung some lights on it that I bought like 3 years ago that I've never put up because we're home in the wintertime.
Still
and
in the
it's no
case,
use for it. So, yeah, we got to take advantage of that. But just really take advantage of being outside and just enjoying our house in the summertime.
How much of the All-Star Game stuff did you catch? Like, did you watch any of it?
Believe it or not, I saw the 9th inning, and that was it. I made sure I missed Miggy's first round of the home run derby because we had my wife's family over, and I was barbecuing at the time. So as soon as I got done with that, I turned it on. We had it going inside, and then we also have outside speakers that through our receiver and stuff. I put it on out there so I could hear it when I had to go run out and flip a
book it in
over.
there.
Yeah, book it back in.
So we've talked about framing, pitch framing. What do you prefer it being called? Because I've heard pitch receiving, pitch framing. Framing makes it sound kind of like it's a trick. I don't know how you feel about that. You know, you don't want to trick Joe West or anything.
Yeah. I think receiving is a good way to go about it. Okay. Just because, you know, once again, you're not trying to trick anybody or I mean, we are, but not publicly, I guess you could say.
Nobody watches this anyway. Nobody watches this anyway.
So receiving, I think, is a better way to go about it. But it's one of those things that it's obviously such a huge part of our game at this point right now. The way baseball's kind of trending, that's a big topic of discussion.
So one thing I was thinking about when it comes to framing, it was also a break for me too, something about baseball all the time. How much does depth of target matter for that? Because if you're receiving a curveball and you receive it back here, right where it needs to be, and it was up here when it came through, I mean, how big of a part is depth of target?
Huge difference in perception right there. Where you can catch that ball up front, get underneath it, and come low to high.
Sure.
You know, you don't get a perception of the ball's going down below the zone and then bring it back up. Where you're back in here, the umpire sees the ball way deep and sometimes won't give you the call. I found that it's better to just try to get, that's why Jason's really good at it too. He's got really long arms. He's able to get it out there and stick it. I try to go from underneath to high, you know, from low to high and really kind of make the ball come up and stick and just not move your glove. That's the key.
So how long does it take for you to feel comfortable with a specific pitcher that you're going to receive all their pitches, their entire repertoire, the way you need to?
I'd say a good 3 to 4 games, just because that you start to understand some of the tendencies.
Sure.
Whether he's got a tendency to fly open on his breaking ball and kind of backdoor it essentially, to where you're thinking, okay, I want a curveball down in a way, and I've got to try to get underneath it this way, and all of a sudden it's back here. So now I'm trying to deal with that ball coming up like this. 2 to 3, 4 games, you should probably have a pretty good idea of how the ball is.
How different is that for a reliever versus a starter? You know, a starter, you're getting 80 to 100 pitches. Reliever, it's 15 to 20 at a time.
Right. You know, I still think it's about the same amount of time, 2 to 3, 4 games. Some appearances are obviously a little bit shorter than others, but you know, really, you try to get a good idea. It's a little easier too for the relievers in spring training to get an idea of what their stuff is, as opposed to the starter, because you're seeing those guys. You might catch the starter once, maybe twice in spring training, whereas the relievers, you're catching a little more consistent basis.
Let's say there's a runner on second base. We like to do a little instructional thing here. You're going through a sequence. What fans might not know is the runner can peek in, and you're not just doing 1 for a fastball, 2 for curve.
No.
I'm not asking you to tip any of the secrets. I'm not asking for war secrets. But what are some tricks that you've heard of or might use? Is it middle sign? Is it third sign? Is it you're doing this and then decoys?
Yeah, a lot of times we give a ton of it is decoy signs.
Yeah.
Most of the time we'll do a tap system where a certain place we touch means a certain set of signs.
Sure. Okay.
So it can be, we can have 3 or 4 different sets of signs that we use. We can go first sign, strikes +1, outs +1.
Okay.
Anything like that. Third sign, follow the 2. Guys use.
You're not carrying anything like multiple.
No, we do some subtraction every once in a while.
You got some smart pitchers.
Yeah.
They probably could do it.
You have to know your customer on that one.
Sure.
We try to just have a few sets of signs that we can go to where if we do a certain touch in a certain location, a certain number of touches means a different set of signs. So that's one thing that we take very serious, just because that is very prevalent. Houston's really good at that. The Yankees.
And that's part of the game. You guys wouldn't. It's part of the game. I mean,
it's part of the game. We try to do as well. Yeah.
We like to be educational here, so that you learned something today. This will also be educational. If you were a professional wrestler, which of these guys would be your tag team partner and why?
Oh my God, I go no, just because I could suplex anybody.
Trevor May picked Ryan O'Rourke when I asked him last year.
That wouldn't be a bad one. He could have a good stage name too.
Yeah. Well, I think he's got the elbow down, so I don't know. I was playing MLB The Show yesterday, and you were starting for me because I was playing Jason Gardner, so you got the lefty stance. What's it like being in a video game? I mean, is that pretty cool as a baseball player?
I'm not gonna lie. The first time I was in one was 2010.
Yeah.
I made my debut in 2009.
Sure.
2010, they had there's like MLB The Show 10 or something like that. My wife actually bought the game for me. We still have it. I wasn't as good as I am now on it.
Wait. As a player or
as a
player?
You are? No. I don't play a ton of video games.
I was going to ask you that.
3 kids, there's not a lot of time for that going on. But my numbers in that video game are a little bit better now than they were back then.
You got like the 42 42 back then because they didn't know about your strengths.
Exactly, that's right. And it took a while for me to understand how to play the game too.
Sure. Kind of like real baseball.
Exactly. It is pretty cool knowing that you're on a baseball game. It's something you can show your kids, your grandkids. Like, hey, Grandpa was on a video game when he was a kid. So that's kind of cool.
So speaking of, when you got your first call to the show, what was that like?
Aside from obviously being married to my college sweetheart, having all 3 of my kids, it's the next best.
Yeah.
I guess significant moment of my life.
Sure.
I found out I was getting called up, and obviously it's a dream come true. It's something you've dreamt about doing forever as a kid. That's all I ever wanted to do. I went to college. To go to college, I recommend going to college because it's a big thing. But
do it.
I also had pretty much one goal in my mind. That kind of changed a little bit. Yeah.
This?
What would be this?
Yeah.
I knew that's something I've never wanted to do anything else. So that's one of those things that I feel like it's enabled me to stay here as long as I have, because I kind of will not take no for an answer, and you just have to constantly keep proving to yourself and everybody else that you're good enough to do it.
What would you be doing if you weren't doing this though?
Oh my God, probably coaching.
Sure.
Coaching or we.
Would you like be a coach teacher, or would you just be coaching something else?
I think that would be. I would probably be a college coach or something like that. Just because I love the game so much. I joke with my wife about it all the time when that time comes for retirement. Hopefully it's a few more years down the road, but you never know.
Yeah.
I have a PhD in baseball, and then I have a high school diploma, because I have not gone back to college to finish my degree yet.
That'd be fun.
It's kind of funny that it's something that I'll consider doing when I'm done playing. I have plenty of time to go finish that, so I'm not really worried about it. But I've been in baseball. This is my 15th year in pro ball. Obviously, I've played since I was 5 years old, so I like to feel like I have a PhD in baseball and pretty much a high school diploma and everything else.
So when you go back, you can be like, "How do you do, fellow kids?"
Exactly. My kids right now, my kindergartner's probably in higher math than I was when I finished school.
So what was your welcome to the big leagues moment? Because you debuted at the Metrodome.
I debuted at the Metrodome.
Twins fans are obviously very familiar with.
That's right. First at bat was a punch out. I was obviously extremely nervous.
Who were you facing?
Scott Baker.
Oh, big spot Scott.
Yeah. And the next at bat was an absolute missile line out to shortstop. Third at bat was a home run. My first big league hit was a homer.
Was that off Baker?
It was off Baker.
He gave up a few of those.
He did. And he was actually my teammate in 2014. And I definitely let him know. I mean, we've played against each other for basically.
Was that Seattle?
It was in Texas.
Oh, Texas.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Texas.
I forgot he was in Texas.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't ever play for
I let him
Seattle.
know. I let him know, and he just kind of laughed. He's like, "Yeah, I gave up a few of those." So,
So, what was your most memorable hit or moment in the big leagues? We'll end with that one.
shoot, I mean, that's definitely right up there. Your first big league hit is something you'll never forget. It's pretty awesome. It kind of lets you know that, okay, you have made it. Because there are people that got called up and have never had an at-bat or an inning in the big leagues.
Moonlight Graham, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Obviously going to the World Series last year was a pretty memorable moment as well.
Yeah.
The national anthem of the Game 1 of the World Series in Cleveland was one of the coolest moments of my life. I mean, just the place is going bananas.
Yeah.
We got all they have the big flag out in the outfield. They've got all the stars and stuff. There's different people holding up the stars in the infield.
It's crazy.
It's kind of, you kind of get teary-eyed. I mean, I hate to say
No,
that,
it's
but
legit.
I have emotions too, okay? So, yeah, you get teary-eyed. Just, my parents were there, my wife and kids are there. It's something that you dream about stuff like that as a kid, and it's funny because my 14th year last year, you never dreamed that it was going to happen to you. Once you get here, and I've been on some good teams and some bad teams, and you never really expect it to happen to you. And as soon as we found out we were going to the World Series, it was like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had.
Yeah, it's kind of. Well, this is Chris Gimenez, Brandon Warne, catching up with the catcher on the Midwest Swing Podcast, part of the Cold Omaha Podcast Network.